Gould, Hart, Ogalla, here. Parker, here. Staley Ferry, here. Tuminello, Weigel, Winfrey, here. And Eustace, here.
Okay, next we have the approval of minutes for the executive committee for May 10th.
Thank you.
Second, any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Then we have the executive committee, executive session minutes for May 10th. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any old business, bring forward? Okay, the new business, we have authorizing the county executive to negotiate the agreement for the Prairie View landfill solar development. Move. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We got the DuPage River update. Dave, you're on here. DuPage River study.
David, you're on.
I got on here Dave DuBois, who's going to get me up there. So Dave's going to send us someone else up there. Fine.
You're going to go up because you're
Here, I believe you have
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just have a few minutes.
if we need to get a couple more chairs up there. Can we drag a chair up there? Why don't you come up here, Suzanne? Why don't you come up here, man?
I can also get up when I'm done with the intro as well.
It's a bit easier for Suzanne to move than to need the chair. You want to be away from her? You don't want to sit next to Chuck?
I'll stand up as soon as I'm done as well.
All right.
You can, while they're arranging chairs, you can start, you can speak
Okay.
to us. You can talk while they're doing
Well,
it.
thank you.
You're fine, you're fine.
This morning, we want to give you an update on the DuPage River feasibility study. And on July 14th of 2015, Will County entered into a feasibility cost-sharing agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the DuPage County Stormwater Commission to provide funding for the local share of this federal project. And if you recall, the federal funds were within the FY15 budget and were sponsored by Representative Baker from the federal side. And Will County, to this date, has contributed approximately $384,000 to the project. The project was paused for several months last summer and fall while the state of Illinois updated rainfall data, which would better reflect the current conditions in the DuPage River area. And we did update the executive committee this last summer. And so, we're back again to give you another update on the project because it is a multi-year project. The study has already produced detailed hydrologic and hydraulic models for the DuPage River, an inventory and assessment of flood risk, and preliminary costs of alternative plans, all of which are collectively referred to in the tentatively selected plan, commonly known as the TSP, which the Corps is here to talk about today. And seeing that this study through completion will put Will County in a better position to seek federal funds for construction of the projects identified in the study, with a 35% local match and 65% federal match, and that would be down the road after completion of the study. So with me today, from internally we have Brian Radner as well as Scott Killinger, our consulting engineer, who's been really working with the Corps directly, as well as Ahmad Samara, who's the project manager for the Corps, and Aaron Malone, who is their PE, their engineer. So with that, I will turn it over to Ahmad to kind of go through the slide projection and give you an update. And then after he's done, I'll say a few comments to conclude. So, thank you.
You can introduce yourselves.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Ahmad Samara. I work for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I am a project manager, and the DuPage River study is, I am the project manager on this study. And I have with me...
Hi,
Hi, I'm Erin Maloney. I'm a hydraulic and civil engineer, and I'm also acting as the lead planner for this study.
Okay, so I think this is my second time coming in front of this board, and I did promise the last time I was here that when we know how we are going to move forward, I'll come back and I'll let you know what we have. So this is the slides that I'm going to go through. So yeah. So just refresher, this is, we had an authority. I mean, the Corps works on projects that they would have to have an authority, and then we would have appropriation. So this is the authority that we actually work for this project. So we're doing under the Flood Control Act of 1958. Next. We are looking at the whole watershed. As you can see, it's about 378 square mile, and it goes through DuPage and Will County. Next. Some historical flooding. You guys are probably aware of all these in 96, 2008, and 2013. And some pictures. This is basically the study that we've been doing for the past couple of years is to get us to this point where we identify the structures, the damages for all this area, and we actually started the NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act. We did the scoping. We actually had a few public meetings that in 2015, in November of 2015, to gather some information, and we basically worked on the H&H, or the hydraulic and hydrology model. So that's where we gathered as much information as we can. We completed the analysis that is needed for us to put us in a place where we can have damages and we can have projects and we can come up with a cost-benefit ratio so we can go forward. So next slide. So basically what resulted out of all the work that we've been doing, as you can see, basically that last number, which is 5,122,000, that is basically the average annual damages that this area basically experienced. So that's a very significant number because that's the number we can go and justify projects, because for us to justify projects, it has to have at least 1 or over benefit cost ratio. Next. So some of the projects that we looked at, one is the Shanahan slurry wall. We basically looked at a design where we can try to protect this subdivision and see if we can actually stop the water from going into it. And the problem is that the cost of correcting that the problem was a lot more than what benefits can. So that's why we see not recommended in TSP, because it just didn't have enough benefits. So that's one, and the next one is Bolingbrook Quarry. That's another one that we looked at. It's an active quarry, and we were looking at the areas where the quarry is going to abandon an open, basically hole in the ground. So we would try to use that for storage. And the thing about it is, also at that point, the cost was not enough for us, or the benefits were not there to do this project. So that was not recommended. Next. So the one thing that we were able to recommend actually is non-structural work that we can do in that area, which is basically the numbers are coming to that one number, that 4,755,000. That number is the amount of funds that maybe we can move forward and implement for a project that we would cost share with you 35, 65. The non-structural is There's 3 items: elevating structure, or buyout, or floodproofing. Floodproofing is the third one. So let's go to the next one. These are the location of the areas that we might actually be able to do the non-structural. One thing that I wanted to also emphasize or make a point of, the projects that we looked at that the Corps couldn't actually recommend because the Corps criteria wouldn't. Other federal agencies might be able to do those projects if they don't have those criteria. So the 2 projects that we will have in our report that we're not recommending, there will be actually a conceptual design for somebody if they want to take that and move forward, if they don't actually have to have those criteria that prevented us from going forward. So we identified for the non-structure about 20 structures. But do you want to talk about that number might actually change?
So I can talk a little bit about the non-structural options that we looked at and what we're recommending right now. So as Ahmad said, the non-structural is basically looking at an individual, we use the term non-structural, it's looking at an individual house or business and implementing either floodproofing or buyout or elevation of that specific structure. So right now our recommendation includes about 20 structures within Will County. There's additional structures recommended in DuPage County for non-structural alternatives. But we just wanted to point out that this is based on, as Ahmad started, it says on the top tentatively selected plan. That's based on kind of an initial level of analysis. We haven't done in-depth analysis at each structure, either for the potential benefits that we could realize or the actual cost. So right now we think we're really conservative in the cost that we assumed, and so we plan on refining that analysis after basically starting from now, kind of as we proceed through the project, so that we hope to potentially increase the number of non-structural recommendations that we have right now. We've received approval to move forward with these, and so we're looking at refining our costs and our benefits. So it could go down too, but we think it'll potentially go up as well. So I think we wanted to comment on which communities those are in.
Yes, right.
Do you want to? Or? Okay, so yeah, so it's a little, and the reason why the map isn't very specific is because we didn't want to, since it is still tentative, we don't want to be too specific in terms of which actual structures we're recommending right now. But just kind of for high level, the 3 communities that we're recommending non-structural alternatives in now are Bolingbrook, Plainfield, and Shorewood, and I guess actually Plainfield Township as well, so 4 communities currently. But as I said, we might expand some of those recommendations in the next step.
So we're going next. Oh, go ahead.
Just a quick question. You had said that the Wayland Lake, the Bolingbrook quarry was not. Didn't they just put almost like a drainage system that we now have a bridge over as we go with the Forest Reserve, that they've connected the East River and our lake? How does that impact what you guys are talking about here? Because I know that wasn't reflected in your picture.
Yeah, we consider that as part of our design, conceptual design, that there is that connection. I don't think it's actually complete yet.
It is.
It is.
Complete. I was just
Yeah,
there.
we were just there.
Oh, okay,
That's why
great.
I'm like
Okay.
driving over this bridge going, holy mackerel, this wasn't here like a year
I was
ago.
going to wait till the end.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and we coordinated with the quarry as well to kind of talk through options right now. So our plan considered using that diversion that's there, but and then adding an additional diversion from that channel into the quarry itself to use that as additional storage. So we were using that channel that's already been constructed in our conceptual plans.
But when you said not recommended, does that put it back into recommended? Or did I miss something?
Didn't qualify because of cost.
Yeah, the
Cost.
Right, so that project, we did do a hydraulic model to understand what the benefits of that project would be, and there were significant reductions in flood profiles, but since it's all based on a cost-benefit analysis, it's a pretty...
But was that involved in the cost-benefit analysis because it wasn't there at the time?
The channel,
The bridge?
Yeah,
The bridge in the channel.
Well, the bridge
No,
was gonna be
we didn't-
done by something, yeah.
yeah, we didn't include that in our costs.
Right.
We assumed that that would have already been completed.
Oh, but the actual structure was included in the whole process.
In your analysis.
The
your
existence of,
analysis.
yes, the fact that
existence
it's
of it.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, the cost mainly is to use the open, the basically the excavated area and to channel the water into it and to actually take the water out once an event happens because it has to stay empty. So that the cost for just all that was not enough, with the benefit that we had, was not enough as a cost-benefit ratio. Yeah. For the core project. Now, yes, I mean, we just did,
Other things happen around the corner.
yeah.
Well, no, other, it may not meet the standards of the core, but it doesn't mean the project can't go forward if another agency decides to.
I mean, I just want to give example like HUD or FEMA or, and other ones that they might not have those criteria. Yes. Next slide. So basically, I just want to kind of let you emphasize the tentatively selected plan milestone. That was 8 June 2018, which is the Chicago District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers presented this project to our division in Cincinnati and our headquarters in Washington, and showed them similar presentation that I'm showing with maybe a little more slides. And at the end of that meeting, they told us that we have a good, solid project that we should go ahead and proceed. And our next, as you can see, after the 8th June, the next one is we would like to go for public meetings and actually tell the public about what we've done and where we're going and try to get input from the public. This is not just a public review. It'll be going to all agencies in Illinois. It will be going, we will do internal reviews and actually we will do an independent review by an entity that we hire to do those projects. So our next step is by July 13 is to have a draft report ready for these reviews. The way this project was actually approved is to go 3 years, $3 million, and not to go more than 3 levels of approval. That's the 3 by 3 by 3. Well, I think David mentioned that we got a little pause last year in 2017. So we are actually telling our higher-ups that we would like to extend that 3 by 3, the 3 years to a 4th year. So we will have to finish the project by July of 2019. So we just have basically 1 more year to finish this feasibility study. Next. This is just numbers, where we're at. Basically, it shows the one thing that I wanted to kind of just highlight is the 50% is not all cash. It's basically in-kind services and in cash. So that's the very top one, that through tentatively selected plan. Those are basically actual numbers. That's where we're at with our study. It's maybe about 1.8 million that we have spent, and we have another maybe 1.2 million. So I will still be looking for more cash from Will County to get us to the finish. And that's the bottom 2 numbers, the 259 and the 38, which is one from DuPage and one from DuPage did a lot of work-in-kind work, which is they did a lot of the hydraulic and hydrology in the DuPage County. So that's why they basically put the same amount of money, but it's just cash and in-kind services. So, next. Questions?
Is that in-kind services on that last slide? Is that vendors providing, the villages around providing service, or is that in private?
Actually,
Like
DuPage is basically a consultant and their staff.
Okay.
Will County is mainly the staff contributing
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't know how else to ask this question other than making it kind of an analogy, but when you're going down, say I-80 going westbound and you have 3 lanes, then it goes to 2, there's a jam up.
Yes.
And then the state comes in and they, make 7 more lanes, 3 lanes wide, or 7 more miles, and then the jam up 7 miles down the road. Are these permanent fixes, permanent solutions, or are these just solutions that are going to help the designated area that's on the map and push the actual water down the line?
I always thought we approached the whole watershed. I mean, we're trying to...
We cannot, the Corps, with all the permitting and all the things, we cannot push a problem to the next person over. So we have to prove to IDNR, we have to prove to IDEM, we have to prove to us and our higher up that whatever we're doing, we're taking care of that problem and we're not moving that problem someplace else.
Okay.
So no, we will have to deal with that problem and make sure that that problem is solved within the boundaries that we're working with. Okay.
Thank you.
If I may, of course, we addressed the entire watershed, but we should remember, it also gives us as a planning tool. Much of the problem should have never been built there, number one. I mean, so the problem really is we should never let it build. The structure shouldn't be there. And we have removed structures out of this watershed, but there's been funds available back in the Shorewood Plainfield area. And if I had, there was unlimited, we had Herb's blank check.
Sir, we'll give you a blank.
We would remove all those structures. Right? I mean, so we're committed to this study. Let me say, and we should continue. And we have opportunities to remove structures and make improvements. Now, to me, making improvements and we're going to do something you don't flood anymore is just giving them false hope. It's just that we go from the 100-year range to the 1,000-year range to the 1,000,000-year range, but they repeat it. So all that I would say is that I believe this board is committed to continuing the study to remedies. Hopefully, we have all our partners stay engaged. Within the next round and try to help hopefully get some additional funds out of the federal government for our projects. So I think, but for no other reason though, I think the study does give us a good planning tool so structures aren't built in the wrong places when we update, the elevation and the floods and so we get the million-year rain and we go, oh, well, wait a second. There's more area here that we should consider. Soils and so forth. Go ahead, Julie.
When we look at removing structures, I think that's a good thing because then we're not going to have them in an area that they're going to flood.
Right.
So other ones that you're looking at elevating, are those ones that are near it but they typically haven't flooded, or what's that?
So right now, we just made some general assumptions as to which measure we would do for each structure, and it was kind of based on what we know about the depth of flooding. Like we made predictions for the 100-year flood elevation, for example, and if it's only inundated a foot or two, sometimes we initially recommend elevating. A lot of people want to stay where they are. But as I said, when we kind of refine the costs associated with that and then kind of work more closely with the communities to determine what they want and what the homeowners want, we can kind of refine and change the specific recommendations. But I know that Will County has done a lot of buyouts and evacuating people from the floodplain, which is part of the reason why some of our damages that we were estimating weren't quite as high as we thought they would be, because you guys have already done a lot of work to get those people out. So I think we know that that's a priority of Will County, so we'll work with you guys to kind of identify within each area that we're able to recommend on structural options. We'll identify what makes the most sense for that area. So
yeah, I think that some of it, and you need to look at the structure, and then obviously the resident never wants to move, but if it's going to continue to cost everyone else more money, then we really need to say, move to higher land.
Yeah, and we can include benefits associated with reduction in emergency management costs if we evacuate a resident rather than just elevate, because if they're still in the floodplain but elevated above it, there may still be emergency management costs associated with it. So there are some differences in how we look at those measures.
Okay, thank you.
In my experience is that most people are in these flood areas, when they given a good opportunity to get out, they get out, you know, because they get tired of flooding out.
There were actually people at Stormwater Committee on June 5th to hear this presentation and are wanting to know when can the county buy them out.
I had another project in Indiana, and I remember at the state line there was like about 4 homes, and they gave us such a hard time. They don't want to move, they don't want to move, they don't want to move. And then in 2008, they got flooded, and they had to kind of get evacuated. And the year after, they all moved.
Yeah, you lose so much.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Is DuPage now, in conjunction with the Army Corps, their stormwater? Are they now? I thought that was always the thing, that DuPage stormwater isn't with, in partnership. They're the only ones, the only county that doesn't use any of that, of the devices formed of the Army Corps of Engineers.
I mean, for this study,
Right.
they are partner as well, but I am not sure.
Maybe, I know that the DuPage County does their own stormwater permitting rather than the DNR, Illinois DNR, so it could be that maybe that's what you're thinking of.
No, they don't
No?
use Army Corps. They're not partnered with Army Corps of Engineers. They're the only stormwater.
I'm not sure. I mean, we're definitely partnering with them on this study, so, yeah.
Curious.
I mean, really, for the Corps to partner with someone, we would have to have a project to partner with, and that's really one of the first one that I know that
No,
we.
I'm president of the Forest Reserve, so
Oh.
I'm very familiar with the partnership with the Army Corps.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Used to live up in the Addison area when they were flooding up along Lake Street there, and you know that was so long ago. But they started taking out all the structures, and not just homes but businesses and stuff. And that was probably back in the 80s. We've been working on this for a long time. How, with the study that you've done and been taking a look at this, where are we at in the timeline to be able to make it? Because every time, kind of to Ray's point, when things got fixed a little farther north and then the water started coming south, people started getting hit hard there. And it's just kind of working its way down till it gets through the watershed to where we don't have a whole lot of structures and residents to stop the flooding. Time frame?
Time frame. So basically, the schedule shows now that we would like to get approval, or we're going to work to get approval by July. This project is only authorized for us to do feasibility. So we have to go to Congress and get Congress to authorize this project for construction. So we still have to go back to Congress and get it. Now, we have another project like this, Plains River. We did get the authorization, but then we have not gotten appropriation. So we would have to have authorization and appropriation, which is to tell us, here's the money, go ahead and do what you were authorized for.
And so if we got a blank check, how long would it take to do stuff like that?
I mean, I'm not sure about, what do you mean, the blank check?
If you
could get a check and you got the funds, how long?
Oh, how long? Oh,
to complete the project that you see yourself going
I agree. So you're saying, okay, so we finished
by structure, by houses. I mean, we're talking
that is
1,000 houses.
I mean, we're talking about 20 structure here, so it's basically we're basically, if we get everything and we move ahead, it would probably take us, I would say, maybe a couple of years or 3 years to actually go ahead, because some of those real estate is as you say, is complex and it's challenging, and it's gonna take us a time, and we will have to go to each structure and look at the structure. At this point, we basically just surveyed.
There's 3 years left.
Yes,
That becomes a very good talking point when we're lobbying Congress
Right,
to be able
right.
to go in and say, we'd like to be able to do this, and if you could help us, we could get this done.
And that
X
will
amount
help
of years.
actually, yes.
So I appreciate that. That's very helpful.
Yeah. Once we get the feasibility, we go into plans and specification. That's about maybe 6 to 15 months real estate then comes in, during that time, real estate. So I believe that if, once we get authorization and we get appropriation, we should be basically about maybe 3 years from implementation.
Well, we thank you for the update. Like I mentioned earlier, I believe that we are committed to the project, and we're going to do whatever we can do to continue to move forward. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next I have authorization to county executive to contract with Ian Snyder and Associates. Motion? Motion. Moved. Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next we have the Illinois Association of Counties. Go ahead. Go ahead. Ian's here.
I appreciate the quick action, but Ian, if you'd like, can give you a quick presentation on where we're at. And
presentation.
I mean, it could be brief or not. I mean, we just want to keep everyone informed because there's a lot of efforts ongoing, and not everybody here is part of those.
Give us the
Yeah, we'll go. We just want to highlight a couple things.
Yeah.
So if you take a look, I think Beth attached the presentation to your agenda. You take a look at slide 11 for the integrated truck route system. I just wanted to highlight the fact that we've now discussed truck routing with 18 townships and 19 communities. So we've hit 37 local governments, and the Will County Governmental League has identified Bolingbrook, Romeoville, Woodridge, Lockport, and Lamont as the participants in the CMAP study, should the CMAP study get funded. I will also point out on the truck routing system that the county DOT and Jeff's staff is doing a great job of collecting the information. They're mapping it with GIS. And so once we get all of the information in, we'll be able to provide a base level map to everybody, and we can see where those gaps are and we can start addressing them. And then I just really wanted to move into the project. Oops.
And I was just wondering, how many more townships or communities are you going to talk to, or have you really looked at the ones we need to address?
Well, we had 18 of, and I can't remember, what's the number of total townships? 24. There were 18 of 24 townships at the meeting that we had with the township officials. So there's just 6 of those left. And then the Will County Governmental League is leading the outreach with the communities. And they feel like they've hit all of the communities outside of the super clusters.
Okay, good, thank you.
Just real quick, that's Judy, you and Lori were part of the meeting on Eastern Will County. We did that one. We did one with the communities like Shorewood, that area, along the Route 59 corridor, basically. And then the super clusters of Elwood, Joliet, that northern cluster, and then the Eastern Will County is basically one of the emerging clusters. So, but that work is ongoing. Like, for example, Eastern Will County, they're doing work on their own. They're going to get something back to us. They haven't yet, but then we'll regroup and we'll keep board members for your respective areas informed as that work continues to come. So.
Okay, good. Then if we look at the key freight projects, I think most of you know by now that the Bridge Street interchange at US 30, the I-80 interchange with US 30 was awarded in the competitive freight grant program, and IDOT has indicated that project will be let in August. We have, and if you go to slide 17, we know that the I-55 Weber Road Interchange project was already let, and that project's moving forward. The county and the city of Joliet submitted a joint application for the statewide planning and research dollars, and that is to create a Joliet Intermodal Transportation Master Plan, and that's to understand what transportation improvements are needed to address the current level of development, and then what it would take to address the future level of development as outlined in the freight plan. Those grant awards will be announced July 1st. That's also where the CMAP truck routing program is. So if both of those are awarded statewide planning and research grants, then both of those projects will go forward. And then if you turn onto the grants page on slide numbers quick. It would have been on slide 19. It's on upcoming federal grant opportunities. The BUILD grant, which was formerly the Tiger grant, those applications are due July 19th. Some important features of that grant are they are capped at $25 million. The funds have to be obligated by September 30th of 2020 and spent no later than September 30th of 2025. The Trump administration is focusing on rural projects, and so we need to work to figure out what project here in Will County would be competitive there. We had a short list of projects. We've looked at all of those projects with IDOT and with the DOT here, and none of those are really far enough along at this point to be competitive, but in talking to IDOT earlier this week, they have indicated that there's a project on Route 53 that might be ready and they would be willing to partner with us on. So that's a discussion that after I get more information, hopefully no later than tomorrow, he promised it to me this week, we'll be able to make a decision on that.
You know what part of Route 53 came in?
It's south of 52. Right. All the way down Manhattan Road.
Between 52
And it's a series of intersection improvements where they would do some add lanes, some turn movements and things.
One of the challenges, though, and this may be a discussion whether this was going to hear executive or public works, we have all these federal grant dollars that are coming available, but we don't have a lot of projects today that are ready to go. So one, for the future, how we expedite more projects to that ready point, or what we're doing is looking at state projects or municipal projects, which we're always open to that, but especially we don't want to be sitting it out where there's grant dollars on the table, because if improvement is in the municipality or on the state system, it helps our region. So we may want to have a discussion about it.
Here's what my preference is when I ask reporting. It's actually not here. It's for us to actually hold the committee as a whole, so everyone can hear it. You know, I'm going to make some suggestions about my district because I think that maybe we maybe shortchanged the area that I represent. I'm going to mention it to you before you leave. But I think that we should just set out granting of a full report, talk about issues, talk about partnering with other jurisdictions and seeing what we can get done within our study. I'm going to wait till you're done, and I'm going to ask you answers. Is there anything else you're going to say?
I just wanted to highlight that the US DOT did announce their infra awards last week. They had 234 applications worth $12.3 billion. That's just to give you a sense of what the competition is out there. They selected out of the 234 applications 26 projects. There were 13 urban, 13 rural, 20 large projects, which would be over 100 million, and 6 small projects, and 44% of those funds went to rural projects. I've heard through numerous conversations with USDOT and others in DC that the next round of infra will probably be either later this fall or early in 2019, and USDOT is looking again at combining 2 years worth of grants, so there'll probably be, this year there was $1.5 billion available, so we're probably looking at about $2 billion available at that point. And I think with that, everything else, you've already had a chance to see this previously.
Any questions for Ann? Ann, you know, and what made me take a harder look was when the project list came out, and I see certain projects that I thought should be on, and there weren't. And specifically, I'm talking about the 191st corridor that runs along the I-80 corridor, basically from Wolf to Route 43. Because you have to remember, in our area, in that area, and rail runs there. So I believe there's the potential to get rail spurs or rail yards, and maybe not the magnitude of a center point or the UP, but certainly there's a potential there. And everything's kind of absent in that area. And I would say it's as emerging as the Eastern Park, you know. Of course, it is kind of Eastern, little town, you know. That's far east is usually where you would. But you know, for example, even though it's a small project, it's an important project. 80th Avenue, which is a small stretch, but it goes over I-80. That bridge needs to be redone. You know, and it goes to Cook County, but Cook County also has industrial development in there. So they're going to be coming over that bridge. They're going to come over 80th Avenue to get to 191st, to get to 80. I think what we perhaps did not recognize when we were doing the report is that in that small area, you have basically I-57, I-80, Route 30, Route 45, Route 43, all merge there. They all come together there. And if you drive the area, you'll see there's plenty of land to develop. It's going to be developed industrial. And I might point out Panduit headquarters is at 80th Avenue and about 180.
Well,
A little further. So we'll say 191st.
183rd or something like that.
So I would like you to maybe just take another look at that area. And you might be surprised there could be some more ready projects there because of the participation of the other jurisdictions. Specifically, Tinley Park has funneled funding to that area, especially along 80th Avenue. So
Definitely, we'll take a look
I
at
think we
that.
should take a look at it. And I should have been more, well, we took the global look, you know, but now when we see the project list, it enables us to narrow in on our areas to see whether, you know, there should be some other things included. I think you should take another look.
Yeah, and I think it would be helpful too, to that point, is if people have projects that they think were not included somehow, if they could let us know what those are, because we do need to reevaluate that list. I did speak to Jeff last week, and he mentioned the 80th Avenue project, and we did take a closer look at that, but it wasn't far enough along in engineering for us to submit.
They're putting it out there. Well, I don't mean it's going to be submitted, but I think it should just be on our radar.
Yep.
And Jeff, I'll even ask you a question. I assume you're out there, Jeff.
Yep.
There you are, okay. I would like, you know, we should even perhaps look at 191st Street. And the reason I'm saying, what's it now about, we put it in around mid-90s, late 90s?
Well,
we
reconstructed around 2000, I think.
No, around 2000, was it?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that road since I run it just about every day. And it's getting this wear and tear. And you'd be amazed how much traffic they creates. I don't know what the traffic count is, but even from a standpoint of freight, you know, is that road? I'm thinking that road is going to have to be reconstructed sooner than we probably ever thought. I mean, I'm asking you. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, from the wear and tear, maybe
And improvement. Maybe some additional deceleration lanes, turning lanes. And some may be done through development too. So.
Yeah, through development, if something comes in, definitely. Nothing came out of the 2040 plan as far as needs, but that doesn't mean something will pop up. So there's certain areas we can look at, investigate, we can certainly do that.
No, I might also add, you know, we're all involved in this, what I would call the new I-80 corridor group, which is going to be at the end of the month, I think. And we go to those meetings. We're part of that. And of course, I believe this I-80 corridor group is not going to be just Will County. It'll be extended into Cook County, because it's important to all of us. I think some of these issues that I'm talking about may be identified more in this corridor group. I'm assuming you will not necessarily always be attending those kind of meetings then. But I also think we need to be aware of the corridor groups priorities. You know, we had an I-80 corridor approved many years ago, not that many. To me, it seems like yesterday. And then it just kind of faded away. So I'm glad to see that kind of coming back. I think they're going to be kind of advocates for some development along that corridor. And when you talk about shovel ready or sleezer ready, I wonder if that group is going to be able to perhaps not only push perhaps acceleration of I-80, but of course the whole corridor would be the kind of idea, just not construction of I-80. So I can believe that's going to be another new development.
Looking at the local transportation system as well, okay.
And one thing I did want to add about that 80th Avenue, that we're talking about 80th Avenue, on the north side of I-80, in the Cook County portion, it is 4 lanes, and it's it's really nice. Only when it gets down to that bridge will create that bottleneck when it comes into the county. That's a good project to be put on that way.
Now we should also, everyone should understand, the bridge is not Will County's bridge. It's IDOT's bridge. We maintain the surface, correct?
Correct.
They're supposedly, to them, everything is the surface. They consider the decking the surface, I-80. I mean, so they don't make the improvements, but I can tell you, there's been times you can look right through down I-80 through that road, you know. And of course, you know, Jeff tells me, well, I-80 defers maintenance because it's going to be replaced. Well, when? I mean, it wasn't even on our list. So that's why I'm kind of, it's kind of a, you know, kind of a catch-22 thing, right?
Yeah.
And we're not going to maintain it because we're going to replace it. Well, when you replace it, I don't know. You know.
Well, and if it's part of their corridor project, they're still in phase 1, so it'll be several years before they get to the point of construction. But no, it would be helpful.
You have to start somewhere, though. We have to push somewhere.
Yes.
We have to bring attention. Do we bring attention to a lot of other projects? I think we should be a little more attention to this.
We will make sure that that gets included on the list, and then any others that people think are important.
I hope, hopefully everybody, and this is, maybe we'll mention at the county board meeting next week, hopefully everyone's taking a look at this list and they're evaluating what's in their districts and whether something should be perhaps, something perhaps that we may have missed that you think may be important. So, okay. Yes, go ahead.
While we're up here, if we could talk about item number 9 also. This is, Ann already mentioned during her presentation, but this is this grant, an IDOT grant, and this is the same pot of money that paid for our freight study, or a big portion of the statewide planning research grant application. We had to submit because the deadline came, but we're looking for a formal commitment from the board to help us identify funding. It's $25,000. The City of Joliet has already committed $25,000. And that $50,000 local match would get a $200,000 state grant, and this is focusing on that area between Joliet and Elwood.
Jeff has plenty of money over there.
That's what I was going to say. So that's just a resolution to say we're committed to that.
Not quite a blank check.
I'll buy you lunch.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5. Number 4? Okay, Illinois State Association of Counties membership. Is Suzanne Lee?
She'll be back.
We'll move on. Let's wait till she comes back. Because she can address that. Awarding bid for Fairmont Central drainage improvements. Move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Awarding bid for sale of surplus vehicles. Move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Authorizing contract amendment with Leopardo Companies for pre-construction phase services for the new health department. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I've made a resolution, it's a long one, you know, I think it's so funny. A resolution on the county board of Will County, Illinois, providing for the discharge of indentures relating to the Will County Public Building Commission, public building revenue, refunding bonds, Will Kankakee Juvenile Justice Center.
Second.
Will County Series 2001, and the public building revenue refunding bonds, Will Kankakee Juvenile Detention Center, Kankakee County Sources 2001, transfer of certain land to Will County and the extension of related documents. This is to move the Juvenile Detention Center from possession of the Public Building Commission to the county. I'll entertain a motion to move. Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Suzanne's back, okay, I'll go back to number 4. Illinois Association of State Counties, Illinois State Association of Counties membership. I mean, I don't really give a brief. I can probably start us out. You know, there's various county associations representing counties. In my opinion, one of them has been very effective. There's a new now state association that's going to be formulated. Hopefully it's going to be much more effective. Some of the other ones may or may not be in existence afterwards, but this would be the recognized association, at least by NACO, which is important because they provide funding for them to recognize. And so it'll be a new association. You know, our portion, our membership dues will be about $27,000. But I might add, we're no longer paying into any other associations. So I don't think
They are already paid.
But they're like
they
minimal.
will not be paid going forward.
They're not, right.
Oh, is this for 2019 then?
We will probably put this into the 18 budget. Why would we? Well, we didn't pay. We didn't pay Metro counties.
No, and that was like
They paid the Illinois
30,000.
Association of Counties.
Yes.
The other association gets the money
We
back.
don't, that doesn't come out of county board.
We
budget.
didn't pay for the other one either. The other.
Okay, so we have not.
Yeah, we have.
Illinois Association we have.
The Illinois Association of County Board Members was paid. That was that 2001.
The dues will be $27,000 for this new association. You know, I personally think it's worth giving it a shot if we can develop an association. It can be effective for counties. I think it's worth moving forward.
Long and short of it is that Jim's absolutely correct about it being that we have, right now, I think there's 5 different associations, and there's the downstate, and then there was representing that of the counties, and then we had the Illinois Association of Counties that was feeding into NACO. So everyone knows how involved I am with NACO, and we sit with vice chair of membership, and we sit in these meetings, and they look over at me, and Illinois is the only state that we have that you have multiple county associations. We also have the worst membership participation in the nation for NACO, because we are kind of all over. We're also a different state. What goes on downstate as well is going on also into completely different into Collier County. So for the last few years, everyone knows I've been working very hard with this with Jim Healy out of DuPage and Deborah Sims out of Cook County, of trying to kind of go and put under an umbrella of one organization. And it's not just in an organization of that of the county association, we're also taking on to the memberships of the state's attorney association, the clerk association, and the treasurer association. Because each one of these departments have their own associations. Everyone knows, anyone who's been at my legislative committee and they come up here and they say, here's this initiative, this is what we're needing, the first thing that comes out, where's your association on this? So this is going to be able to go in turn, help organize, bring everything under, so we know that coming in. So we know the agenda of where the state's attorney. We had a situation this year where it came out, and there's a lot of bills going in Springfield. And to be able to flag all of these are very difficult. So it's going to be able to help the process down in Springfield of what we're doing. We're also going to kind of have it where there's going to be more of the lobbying process with these associations. Only one right now has a lobbyist that we're kind of a part of. And I sit on the legislative committee for them. And we go down and what we're talking about here in the Collier counties is completely different of what their concerns are going downstate. So we're going to have the large Collier County, we're going to have a specific lobbyist for us. There's going to be a downstate rule for the smaller counties. So we're going to be looking at like 100,000 plus, and then underneath that we will do with another lobbyist. So it's going to be more of an organized
So I think it's going to be worth the effort to try to get an effective association. So,
Jim, I've got a question, just real quick.
go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, Mike's not here. I know in finance he'd be asking, have we budgeted for this?
I don't believe we've totally budgeted for probably, so we would probably have to take it out of the cash.
The associations let come out of the executive. I was kind of thinking that too after. So this won't though.
I don't, well, not all of them.
Have we
some
have we
split.
appropriated money in your budget for this?
If we had money in for Metro, we'll give it for this. If we didn't take
Okay.
Well, if there's Metro,
Now,
that was
though-
30, this will make 327.
I thought, well, was it 30 or?
Well, the point is that this would.
I've got the money.
It was budgeted in the executive's budget. It was budgeted in the executive's budget, and Nick is saying there's still.
If it's in there, we'll pay the bill.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was in there.
We'll double check.
Voice of reason back there.
Could I ask, this man, NABA, the black organization, NAPCO, I was close. What about? Yeah, I know, I should go too. No, ain't
I've gone.
Yeah, I know you have, that's what I'm
I
asking.
went. That
So,
would be one of my favorite
and I
memories.
know I'm not, Denise have, but what about that association?
It comes through.
Is that part?
And I think
Okay, so that's part of it, okay, so there's no additional breakout or,
No.
okay,
no, the only thing would be like when Denise goes to the
right.
conferences, which has been excellent
But if they're
representative.
close, if their conferences are close, I can drive this.
Yeah, we went to the one in Chicago at McCormick, and it was
I
great.
know I'm not, I know Denise has, but I'm,
You should.
yeah, no.
Just one question. Do we have any kind of commitment from the downstate organizations? Because
Oh.
they've been the biggest holdouts.
Oh, no. We've, actually, when we had our last meeting, we had all of, well, we didn't have the Illinois Association of County Board members. They're kind of still on that loose, but the UCCI, I
Yes.
said it right.
Mike-
They were, Mike McCurt, yeah. They were there. We had one of his guys, his vice chair.
Downstate.
Yeah, they were
Matter
the
of fact,
guys.
they're the ones you send them dues, they send it back.
And I'm not going to go completely into detail, but when I say umbrella, so we have of the different voting members, like myself, I'm on the executive with Lake County Chairman Aaron Lawler, and then Jim Healy, DuPage, and then there's 4 representatives out of Cook County, and we're going again by population. Now, also with these votes, we have someone from the UCCI, Illinois Association of County Board Members, but I don't think they're now going to, I'm not sure what's going on with them.
They may not participate.
Right, and then, so all of us as this whole structure, and we have it, I think we have the whole structure in here, and it shows how the different votes are separated
Okay.
as of one, and we just had gone at our last meeting and did all the legalities of it.
Can I have a motion in a
So
second?
moved.
Second.
Say all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, that's down to 9. I got,
I'll make a motion to approve number 9.
okay.
Second.
Yeah, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now, number 10, I want Denise to pay attention here. Number 10 is, we have not, even though we've been very active in NACO, most of our membership has been at the committee level, vice chairs, and we have not ascended into some of the hierarchy of NACO, even though many years ago, Mike Saris was on the board. And part of the reason is because it takes a lot of time. And it takes a little additional expense for a county. Because if you're going to be on the NACO board, you have more meetings to go through. If you're going to be a chair of a major committee, it's going to require perhaps a little bit more travel and more participation. And one of the areas that, one of the commitments NACO likes to see, or the president of NACO likes to see, is that truly the entire board is behind the person who would perhaps be seeking those positions. Because it would probably requires being away from your board at certain times. So you'd probably be missing some meetings here at the county, but to be representing you on the national level. So this next item is Denise is pretty committed to NACO, and she's put her name in there. God bless you. We're doing that because it is a committee. She's currently the vice chair of Large Urban County Caucus, which we call WAC. And so she's in from that position, and she's also being considered to be put on the main NACO board, which is a real honor and gives your county insight and gives you kind of when they're really doing something that's a pilot program and so forth, it's those members that their counties participate first, or they get first crack at things. So this is Lieutenant supporting Denise Lynn for a NACO board seat.
But I'm just add to that, of the collar counties, Will County is the only one that doesn't currently have a seat. So it makes sense for us to have that spot as a large county that we are, and as the hub that we are, we need to be represented.
Yeah. So we have a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now who do we need to go talk to? I can put some people in headlines. I'm not always going to meet my person.
Talk to Roy or Matt.
Okay.
I would reach out to Matt.
I'll talk to Roy.
Yeah, I talked to him. He's been actually so instrumental about making for this new change for Illinois.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay, so did we vote for this thing?
Yeah.
Well abandoned demolition approval. Move second, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That's intending the 2018 prevailing wage rates. Move second, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Replace and hire for the land use department. Move second, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Replace and hire for ICT department.
Mr. Chairman,
Communication.
I'm going to ask that the committee take no action on this one. We have an internal candidate.
ICT?
Yeah.
So the all in favor motion, we remove this from the agenda. Move second, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Replacement hire for ICT department, lead infrastructure tech.
No, we call it communications systems. I'll make a motion to approve the lead infrastructure tech second.
No, they're different positions.
That was communications.
You got a motion and second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I was going to say everybody can't see.
I know, but you can see.
Replacement hire for the supervisor assessments office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Replacement hire for Sunny Hill Nursing Home. Move second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, replacement hires for the emergency management agency. Move
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Replacement hires for the county executive maintenance department.
Move.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Presentation of Illinois Water Survey and County Board meeting. Move. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Proclamation,
Yeah.
Mayor, Mr. Brooks.
We have a couple of them going on. We got the Glasgow thing for a check presentation. And Plainfield, there must have been something in the water this past year because they have one state in track and baseball. And so we're working to see where that's going to be, if they're going to both come or how we're going to set that up. Mr. Benfield will get back on this one.
Is that going to be for two though?
Waiting for a response.
But if they both show, we'll have two.
If they both show.
respond, okay, so, okay. Thank you.
You know that legal business
Okay, I'm sure you.
for the rugby.
We've got a couple of them.
Hey, that's cute.
Yeah, Plainfield, but legal,
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay, next we have the appointment by the county executive. Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Then we have one of those things. I also have a need to discuss regarding the RFQs for the CMs for various projects. This is something that we're going to have to meet. This is to qualify for the little smaller companies that could do smaller jobs. Say 5 million or under, to develop a list. We're going to have to meet with that group. Who else was on it? It was myself, Herb, Ray was on there.
Jim, Herb, Gloria, Mike, Rand, Ray.
Okay, well then, why don't you call and see when you have everybody's calendars. We'll set up a date as soon as we can to interview everyone to get their packets.
Yeah, just want to mention that if you're on that committee, you should take up the packet.
They all do say in like 2 weeks.
Quite honestly, when I go through them, I mean, just remember, we're just qualifying to be on the list, we're not picking any projects, we're just making sure that they have the ability to. And I think most of them are going to find the best. We need to set the interview. And you know what, I will, I mean, first of all, I would say, ask them if there's anybody on there they don't want to interview. Is that, what is there, 5 of them, 6 of them?
5.
All right. So, I guess, well, let me ask you this, David. Is there any company that's submitted that you don't think should be, you do interview them all?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just consider we're gonna interview them all. We'll have 45-minute intervals between meetings. So it'll be about all morning, maybe even that can go through lunch. I think if we start at, say, 9, we probably would go through till 2. 5. Figure 5 hours.
Or working months.
No. I would say, don't spend much time in between, maybe 5 minutes in between. And we could probably take a 15-minute lunch. Quickly. So, I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's time, so. All right? Okay.
Is there a better day than 18?
For me, I think Mondays, usually open. Wednesdays are also a good day.
On Monday, the 25th, let's start with that. Yeah, just throw something out there and see what happens. July 2nd, Monday, July 2nd.
July 9th, yeah.
When do you want to have this?
What was wrong with the 20, what was wrong with Monday the 26th? Really, I have my calendar, you're on kids.
I don't need to read. You guys want to do it earlier?
So why don't you try the 25th?
Reagan's like this.
Because, you know, the thing is if we don't get it done this month, then we get into the holidays.
Right.
And I know we're gonna find a second, I think we're good.
Well, no, I know, I'm on the board of directors of senior services, and that is our fourth Monday meeting that morning. So I know I can't.
Okay.
I can't do this. That's fine.
How long do you need?
About an hour. I can probably be there by 10.
Well, just come at
Keep it on.
10. Just come at 10. Well, you only miss one.
Okay.
We can
Yeah, that's fine with me.
because we're just qualified.
Okay, I'll get there by 10.
We'll give you,
I'll be right there, senior services across the bridge. I can get there by 10.
we'll fill you in after you minutes.
Don't eat my lunch now.
Okay, so let's go with the 25th. If someone cannot make it, I might just replace them. Okay, except for that. Okay, so this will be the 25th. Can you put, make sure they get to my calendar. Make sure they get to my calendar. Okay, what else do I have? Next thing I'd like to do is, you know, we work on these large assessments. It's a long negotiations. All the taxing bodies are involved. We wait for the other taxing bodies to kind of sign off on everything before we bring it forward. All the primary folks, other taxing bodies have signed off on this agreement. So I want to bring the ExxonMobil assessment agreement forward for the June meeting. So I'll entertain a motion to place this on the county board agenda. Move second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so it'll be on the June agenda. Thanks, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Good job.
And I will say good job, Rhonda.
She's gone.
Rhonda, yeah.
Oh, I heard that.
Good job, Jim's gonna say good job.
You know, I have older kids, I had younger kids. You know, there was a big age gap. You know, one day I yelled at one of my younger ones, and my older kids were there. My oldest daughter kind of goes like this. She goes, "You remember that?" Yeah, always got their attention. Good job, because you know these. You know, we had this agreement up. We had
Sitco's next year.
we had Sitco, we work on, and we have Exelon. And we're finishing up with Exxon. We finished up with Exxon last year, wasn't it?
Exelon has 2 more years.
They have 2 more
and then
years. So, you know, these are really lengthy, tough, these are tough to get through. And we always get around to get everyone to agree on a reasonable assessment. And I might add, the assessments don't go down, they still grow. And they're willing to, so it's a good deal for everyone. Good job, a lot of hard work.
I just want to add one thing. It's extremely important that when I come up and when we talk about me negotiating one of these, or we use the word deal, those are not really great words to use. When we do these agreements, these are stemming from historically what we've done for the last 30 years. They're stemming from the methodology that we have used on whether it's a refinery or an energy plan. And they are, what they're doing is creating stability for all of the taxing bodies and allowing all of us to come together and look at what's really going on in the market and with other facilities like these. It just happens in Will County that we have, 2 refineries and a nuke plant, and out of the state, that's a lot of, those are 3 large special use properties, so it's a big job to be done, but we do it because we continue to cooperate and communicate with all the taxing bodies, and we always end up in a spot that works for everyone. So I do appreciate your approval and.
Nice job. And you also have to get all the other taxing bodies to recognize it's a fair assessment, and that's another whole.
Well, some are more.
So some are a little tougher. And I might also say, the state's attorney's office represents Rhonda in all those negotiations. So good job, Mary. for your team.
Phil,
I know it's, you know, Phil, but I said team. You know, since you're the head, we recognize you for your team.
Absolutely.
So
We couldn't go forward without
that's for everyone who gets involved. And yeah, so good job.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have committees, land use time, do you have anything?
We have 5 projects, zoning cases. We had 3 solar farms at our committee, and we approved one of them. Then we talked about the other 2, and it was brought up that the state is changing some legislation, so we decided to table the last 2 and try to put in a condition that would reflect the changes that the state is trying to make now. So I'm going to ask the committee to table the one that we have on our agenda.
Okay. Any questions for Todd? And by the way, this solar, I don't feel it seems like it's changing daily. That's why it's hard to bring these projects forward because it's a kind of a changing landscape, that's all I'm saying. So, you know, this whole process, which we identified from the very beginning, you know, you're approving it, then everything is, all the regs will come later, the approvals will come later, makes us move cautiously, which we should. Go ahead.
One of the things that came up at the meeting with some of the objectors to one of the locations was site suitability. So we really need to have a conversation, such as they shouldn't have built those homes in the DuPage.
I agree. I think that's
so we need to look at site suitability and density, even though we've been told there isn't a density issue because the current infrastructure can only take so much. Well, I was in a meeting on Monday and ComEd was there and said they can always upgrade the infrastructure.
Correct.
So that is something we really need to look at, and I would be, in my opinion, we should have the local township should be the ones deciding the density for their area. Some may want a lot, and others may not want, and I don't know if they have that thought at all.
You know, I have some issues with some of this going on, just in regular ag properties. You know, just randomly pick a piece of ag property and say, well, put one here. I mean, it's not totally random. They have to be pretty close to transmission lines. But the point is, you know, we have brownfields that already have infrastructure in this county. We are looking to put one on our property at the landfill. That's I think an appropriate use for part of the landfill that's already covered. I do think we should be taking a harder look at. And I personally think we're rushing to put these in agricultural districts.
Yep.
And I'm not so sure that we shouldn't put emphasis in other areas, like old industrial sites, for example, that might be very appropriate.
Yeah.
You know?
I noticed a lot of the properties are at the 2 landowners. So they're not somebody who's, right, so see that, or actually one of the ones that came up where a lot of objectors were speaking on, this person signed the lease with the solar company the same day he closed on the property. So he's not looking at, you know, and invest, he wasn't looking at it as an ag parcel. He bought it as an ag parcel and he wants to use it as a commercial property. So I mean,
you'll see more of that.
Yeah, you're going to see that, right.
So, but I'm not so sure that we should be so quick to just approve this in ag. I'm not so sure that ag should be the preferred zoning for these, which it seems to be. So I'm just, you know, of course, the longer this lingers, the more you think about perhaps how we should be going forward, so where they should be. And I'm not so sure. I guess maybe I'll look at you on this on the zoning side or zoning classification. I'm not so sure that we don't need a more defined solution within our zoning ordinance for these kind of properties. I mean, to me, to just say, well, hey, it can go in any ag. Well, that's half the county. I mean, I don't know if there's a way to narrow that down, or if we should be have a little more scrutiny on the special use going into ag for this
And
town?
I'm not real familiar with the ordinances with regard to the solar because we are just instituting it, but I was under the impression they were special uses. They are not?
It's a special use. It's a, you know, it's a provided special use under ag. But I'm not so sure that we should take another look at that. You know, whether we talk about, you know, a special use for over 50 acres. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, but maybe, you know, well, you know, just like cell phone towers, the reason, if you recall, we went to whatever it was, 200-foot towers, because the idea was we would rather have taller towers and fewer sites, because the taller the towers, the fewer sites that would be needed. I'm looking at this perhaps in the same manner. Maybe what we should be saying is a special use if it's 50 acres or more. Here again, to say, you know, maybe we'll focus. I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm just saying maybe we should have those discussions of we'll have larger ones, but fewer of them in the right places.
Right.
Well, Illinois is not the first place to go into solar, so there must be other counties that have already kind of broken that ground, so to speak, to be able to go.
They're relevant other states.
Doesn't mean
Not
that
in Illinois.
doesn't mean their
Around the
policies
country.
doesn't mean their policies were good either.
No, it doesn't. But what it does do is give us something to respond to. It's much easier to respond to something than it is to create. So maybe there's some ways that we could go in and get some of the policies from different parts of the country that have been dealing with solar, and maybe some of the solar companies already have some of that language and issues.
When we changed the zoning ordinance last year to update it, we did use a lot of other areas. And we looked at what they did, and they have a lot more solar. So just so you know, we did look at that as part of our review of the zoning ordinance.
It doesn't mean, see, I disagree, because it was so new, I don't think there's that many good policies out there. I mean, it's kind of like we're following, we looked at what was out there, but we never said it was good. Just said this is what's out there, and we're going to be the same. Doesn't mean their policies were, you know, good policies necessarily.
If you want, we did do a study with CMAP several years ago about the landfills, the old landfills. We have a lot of old landfills that aren't.
Well, I think that's a good place for it.
We could get the dust off of that and look at that again if you want and bring it to you guys.
I guess there's there's such a long way to go on this, and I feel we're being pressured to move these forward, and I just have concern that we're going to regret what we're doing currently.
Well, I agree with you. So there's a bidding that's going to be coming out, like an auction that'll be coming out in January. So they're all lining up to get into that. And then after that, there's still 2 more years and put more money out. So this is a process that will continue going. And I understood from ComEd that there's 450 projects right now, but there's only money for like 65.
So we could be approving all these special use
Right.
permits, and none of them go forward because they don't get them, you know, so it's like, it's kind of reverse. It's kind of reverse what we're used to. And usually people have approval for things, and we don't need to give them approval first so they can get something. Even that area, we give them a year, so maybe for those, so you have to implement it in 6 months. So you don't get extensions, so it don't linger out there on these type of projects. I think there's other areas, Mary, that perhaps you can take a look at to tighten it up a little bit.
We will work with land use too.
Okay.
See where we can.
Okay, so moving on finance, Ray, you got
Just some reports that have been filed, committing the funds for the Illinois Cooperative Extension like we do every year, appropriating grants in the coroner's budget, and we're designating a new bank as a county depository.
Any questions? Tom, will we public works?
Yeah, we're updating the 5-year plan for Public Works, and we're revising the oversized truck procedures. This would allow some of the local companies to get a monthly permit rather than a daily permit. We had some people come here in the past, and they are agreeable to this type of a change. So that particular crane operator and Lara when he was involved in setting this up. So. And then there's various other road projects.
Okay, any questions for Tom on transportation, public works, okay, judicial?
Just a word on the bid for food services in River Valley.
Any questions for John? Public health and safety, Judy?
Nothing on the agenda this month.
Okay, legislative. Any questions for Judy first? Okay, legislative and policy.
I have one question. Are we going to do the ICE's, the Illinois Association resolution? Are we doing that in legislative, or are we going to do it, we're going to do it out of here? We passed it out of legislative.
It'll come out of executive, association type membership, will come out of executive committee.
And then we
But, you
also-
know, I don't mind it going through, you want to go through legislation, it doesn't matter to me.
Just
For me to read one more
as long as
resolution,
it's out of here.
doesn't matter to me, but it does come out of this committee.
Okay, that would be great. And then the other, we talked, we also passed where we voted on the resolution for the transportation committee out of NICO.
Okay.
For us to go ahead and pass, so. It's already submitted, Brandon submitted it and everything.
Okay.
But I would like to have that to put onto the agenda to have full support for.
Well, that becomes a legislation.
Right, that's fine.
You want me to put the resolution that I did, that I submitted on your agenda?
That would be wonderful, and then we'll just do
Okay.
this pass. And then everyone will know because we are submitting.
So I need to make you need to make a motion to place that on the agenda.
Because we're spending in transportation.
Make the motion.
Resolution.
Make the motion.
Second.
Okay, move second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else, Suzanne? Okay, capital improvements, right?
Yeah, we just have an update and the summary, but I did have questions on the spot of the contract.
Yeah.
So we need to move that then from what we talked about today.
Well, I thought we had it on the agenda. Oh, put it on your agenda? Yeah, I can do that. Same thing, a lot of contracts come to this committee, but you can take it to the committee. As long as it's approved by the... No, I was waiting on this. Well, make a motion, it doesn't matter. Move second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any questions for Ray? Executive committee, we go over my whole agenda, so if there's any other questions, I'll hang them. Okay. There is going to be a need for executive session to give us an update on negotiations. First let me ask, is there any public comments? Any public comments out there? Okay. Is there any comments by committee members? Judy?
Yeah, just from Ad Hoc IT, we had a meeting yesterday, we reviewed 4 different vendors for the court management system software. So we've got a vendor coming in that's pretty low, under $1 million, and another one at 6. So we decided 6 was too much, so we had to put that one out, but we have 3 remaining. So we're really looking for some sort of direction. We don't want to call somebody in for if we're not going to have the funding for it, so I'd like to have that conversation. But it was really good, thorough conversation with everybody.
So what are you asking? You're asking to identify funding?
Well, we want to know, one is nearly $4 million, we're looking at that. Is that something we can even bring in or not? So that's the kind of thing we want to look at.
That comes under the capital funding. And it depends on how we're going to address it. You say it's going to be $4 million, but we don't take $4 million, let's say up front. We go over 2 budget years and so forth. So I'm not going to say we're not going to fund it. I mean, I think some of these things are necessary. Melissa? We have money in capital.
We have designated, we have $500,000, I believe, in capital right now, but we usually do that over multiple years. But we could, in addition, we could discuss it at finance, what you'd like us to place in the 19-20 budget. We have $500,000 currently. The rest can be identified.
So do you want us to call in, because we were thinking of calling in the 3 for presentations?
Yeah, I mean, because if it's needed, it's needed.
Fine.
We just have to perhaps
Okay,
look
thank
at
you.
ways that we're going to have to.
Well, you might put it in potential sales budget.
So,
See, this could be.
and it would be part of the budget discussion. And it would be part of the budget discussion. I mean, by the time we could probably actually do a purchase, we're gonna be in the 2019 budget year. So it's something to be over the 1920 budgets.
Right.
So, and that's what we would look at, so, yeah.
Because it's gonna take them, I mean, most of them said
I
about
mean,
30-some years.
Mary might negotiate with for 6 months sometimes. I mean, right, Mary? I mean, it can go quite lengthy with these tech companies. Because you gotta make sure that they're not, because they always kind of wanna, kind of put one over on you. Like all of a sudden you pay for it, but they own it, kind of stuff, right? So it could be.
Good, thank you for those
Okay, is there any other comments? I will, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Take the roll, please.
Mayor?
And if you are allowed to stay in the room, you have to start that.
Yeah.
For the purpose of
For purposes of labor.
Yeah, it's not the whole.
Microsoft. I did that yesterday. No, that's right, I'm not staying either, so I don't.